神羅転生
What's up everybody, it's your boy Hokage here, welcome to the video. Today I'm going to review episode 145, I believe. Either 45 or 46, I'm pretty sure it's 45, it doesn't really matter. I already said this on Twitter, I thought this episode was great. And now that I thought about it a little bit more before hitting the record button, I actually think it's fantastic. Now, nothing about this episode stands out as like legendary, extraordinary, something that's going to be remembered for episodes upon episodes. But I feel like this episode was, because it was paced really well, I thought it was balanced. It served its purpose. It furthered the plot, and overall it was just balanced really nicely, and it just fit. It just fit the overall arc. And when I say it fitted, like I'm gonna explain, I'm gonna explain it throughout this review, obviously. Now, this episode was pretty strategic. It was pretty ninja-like. Okay, it kind of had that, at least in my eyes, it had that Naruto Part 1 vibe to it. People often like to refer to Naruto Part 1 when it comes to tactical aspects of the Naruto franchise and stuff like that. Mainly because in Shippuden, right? According to many, and I've never seen Dragon Ball, but according to many, Naruto in some ways became quote-unquote more similar to Dragon Ball. Now, I think when people do that, they often completely neglect the fact that even Shippuden tactics were a thing. They were always a thing. So in a way, I think that comparison is flawed, unless you acknowledge that there's still tactics, right? But in particular, this had that Naruto Part 1 vibe. Again, in my opinion, I don't know if you can relate to this feeling. But anyway, you have Team 7 cooperating together, figuring out how they're gonna get Kokuri out as soon as possible. Because if Kokuri gets to the second Hozuki Castle tower, like, is it Hozuki Castle Tower 2? I forgot how they called it, but basically they have to figure it out, and then you have this like tension throughout the episode, and that's one of the reasons why I said that this episode really fit the overall arc. The theme of suspense, thrill, and things like that. But anyway, going back to this, they're coming up with this plan, and Sarada needs to give them a signal. Obviously, we know what happened with Sarada at the end. She got pretty unfortunate, and she got badly hurt at the end. But I was gonna talk about Sarada later, but now that I mentioned the scene, I feel like that scene is so brilliant because throughout this arc, Benga is seen manipulating everybody, bribing everybody, threatening people. He's been doing a lot of shady stuff, and his sole purpose is to make this arc more complicated, thus more interesting, right? Like, I'm sure that 99.9% of people hate him, but like, that's literally the point of his character. He's not there to be like a complex villain with a tragic backstory or anything like that. Although, it's probably not gonna happen, but I'm just saying, it doesn't rule out the possibility that like we might see like a little flashback of him as a kid. Who knows? He might have been like abused or something like that, and then he became a sociopath. Like, I don't know. Again, it's probably not gonna happen. Even if it does, it's like whatever. That's cool. But his main purpose is to be this annoying guy that makes things more complicated. Just imagine this arc if Benga wasn't corrupt. It would be much less interesting. But going back to the Sarada scene, the reason why I thought that scene was so brilliant is because you have Benga who's doing everything, and finally he realized through talking, with various people, most notably Doragu in this episode. I like that little detail as well, because they brought up Doragu from a couple of episodes ago again, and he gave him some valuable info, especially when it comes to Sarada. You have Benga pretty much realizing that he's in danger, but being super worried, right? Because, if this gets out, he could get fired. I think he literally stated that. And then Sarada accidentally bumps into him. that was pure luck. Okay, just like how when Kadama's backstory was explained, and that's another reason why this episode is brilliant. Just like how when Kadama's backstory was explored, um, if it wasn't for Kadama doubting um, his comrade's prediction about the weather, he could have escaped. But Benga was lucky in that case. Now in that case, even if they escaped, nothing major would happen to Benga. But in this case, he could literally lose his job, and boom, it was simply bad luck for Sarada / good luck for Benga. And the reason why I like that is because, and this doesn't apply only to Boruto. It doesn't only apply to anime. It applies to fiction in general. There's a lot of convenience in fiction, and that's normal, right? But from time to time, it's good to it's good to go against this trope, right? It's good to, include some bad luck moments like this, and that's exactly what happened. Plus, this is prison, when it comes to stories that are set in prison, anything can go wrong at any point. Every little detail is important, and there you go. Benga destroys Sarada just like that at the end of the episode. And by the way, I really appreciate the animation at the end of the episode. If you've been following my channel for a while, you guys know that when it comes to my episode ratings that I give to all of these episodes, I don't include animation and soundtrack as a factor. Like, I know a lot of people find that crazy, but it's just like my subjective way of rating the episodes objectively, quote unquote, if there's such a thing, because like no review is 100% objective for obvious reasons, and if that was the case, all reviews would be the same. But yeah, I mean, that said, I can still comment on the animation. Now, this arc is unique, right? It's I've said this many times, especially in the context of the Boruto series. This prison setting, the thriller type of vibe, it's completely unique. And I mean, naturally, there's not too much action. And if you really think about it, the Sarada Benga scene, I mean, yeah, it is action, of course. He was trying to hit her with some fire style jutsu or whatever. But, like, it was so short, insignificant. But just because they put so much effort into the animation, art, like, whatever, I'm not good with those terms because I'm not an expert at any of those two. But you guys know what I'm talking about. Just because they emphasized it so much, it made it seem way cooler than it actually was. Especially some of those shots by Sarada. I mean, I'm pretty sure I'm going to use that one of the shots in the thumbnail of this video, like 99.9% sure, actually 100% sure. But anyway, that way the animators and people involved within the creation of this episode just hyped up the next one even more. By focusing so much on the animation. Also, the soundtrack use was brilliant throughout this episode. We got Kadama's backstory. I've been talking about this potential backstory for a few episodes right now, for a few episode reviews. Excuse me, I'm not talking in the actual episodes. That would be weird and impossible, to be quite frank with you. But we got it. I mean, I saw this coming. I'm pretty sure a lot of people did so as well, because we got to know more about Arai. We got to know more about Kamata. And I mean, logically, the next guy is Kedama, and that's exactly what happened in this episode. Ever since he interacted with Mitsuki a few times earlier in this arc, I was really eager to find out what happened. Why, I wanted to see why he quote unquote betrayed his friend, because I mean, we all know that didn't happen. It's just Benga being a prick, and this is just the brilliance of his character when it comes to this portion of the Mujina Bandits arc. I mean, like the prison portion, right, which is about to end pretty soon. It's like 6:40 a.m. right now. I barely slept, so I'm kind of losing my focus. What was I talking about before I brought up the brilliance of Benga's role, which I brought up a few times already in this video. Yeah, I was talking about Kedama. Kedama's backstory is pretty unfortunate, and I'd like to give my take on the flower comment by Mitsuki. Now, I could be 100% wrong. I could be misinterpreting this, but I feel like when Kedama was explaining that he decided to pretty much not get involved with anybody in the prison or whatever, whether it's because of shame, whether it's guilt, whether it's him not wanting to risk making a mistake or whatever, it doesn't really matter. He clearly states that he doesn't want to get involved with these things, right? And Mitsuki's like, Well, that's not really true because, like, you know, you're doing this thing with flowers or whatever, and like Kedama was like, oh no, I just do it to kill time. But I feel like the deeper symbolism of this is, you know, when you grow flowers, before the flower grows, there's pretty much nothing, and it's like a new start, right? A new life is formed, and maybe Kedama is like subconsciously enjoying this because he hopes that like he'll change, that his status and that the prison will change, that you know, in the future, if there's a similar situation where somebody's trying to get away, or if he's trying to get away, that in that case he'd be able to help. He won't fuck up and cause somebody's death. Because I mean, I forgot the dude's name, but he pretty much died. And you know, of course Kedama didn't intentionally kill him or anything like that, but like he indirectly he killed him pretty much. So unintentionally, of course, you know, context matters. So I guess maybe that's like the symbolism of the flowers, like, you know, new start, you know, rebirth, like whatever. All of this, again, I could be wrong. This is just how I saw the symbolism of that, and I feel like Mitsuki picked up on that. I really like the interactions between Kedama and Mitsuki. I thought they were pretty much flawless. And Mitsuki reflecting upon the past, especially the Mitsuki disappearance arc, man, that arc is so underrated. One of my favorite arcs of Boruto, definitely. And I mean, just like, it's a small detail, but just like Mitsuki grabbing Kedama with the snakes and like commenting on his pulse, all these small details make for such, you know, good, you know, character dialogue, you know. And again, I keep going back to the line I said at the start of this review when I said that this episode fits, you know, this arc. It might not be the best way to word it, but I feel like this episode really, and again, I've been praising this arc a lot since it started, but this episode, it's the prime example of why this arc works so well. And really props to the writers for this arc. It's, you know, this is the second major arc of the Boruto manga. Obviously it's expanded. I mean, if you don't read the manga, you don't know this. Well, but this is like, you know, Hazuki Castle was just mentioned in the manga. It was never really shown. The content we're getting right now is brilliant, and clearly, because it's been stated that Tsukio is like the second main guy in the Mujina Bandits arc, that foreshadows that, yeah, excuse me, at some point we're gonna get the main guy. Now, as a manga reader, I know when this is gonna be. I'm not gonna spoil it here for the anime onlys, but whenever that happens, it's clearly foreshadowed, right? Overall, this episode gets a 10 out of 10 from me. I already said it. It had a great tactical aspect to it. I like the teamwork of Team 7. Sarada's role in the arc has been super enjoyable. A little bit of bad luck, as I mentioned, and I mentioned why I think that's very important, especially when it comes to, you know, convenience and fiction, Boruto in general, and stuff like that. Kedama's backstory, you know, the animation and soundtrack comments, again, they're not affecting the rating. I just mentioned them. You know, I just mentioned how I felt about them, but in general, I thought this episode was brilliant. Fantastic pacing, fantastic everything, but most importantly, great plot progression, you know, in this episode. And I mean, you guys most likely saw that preview for the next episode. It looks wild. I can't wait to see the next episode. That was your boy Tsuno Hokage. What was I gonna say? I mean, it's the end of the video. I don't know what. Yeah, I just wanted to say that was your boy Tsuno Hokage, and I'll see you in my next video. As I said, guys, it's pretty early / late because I haven't really slept at all. Whatever. That was your Hokage. I should really end this video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.